The conference hall fell silent as Anna stepped to the podium, her weathered hands gripping the edges with practiced ease. Behind her, the holographic display showed Earth, scarred, diminished, but surviving. Oliver stood in the shadows at the back of the auditorium, watching the delegates from 17 species shift uncomfortably in their seats. For 3 centuries, Anna began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. You've asked us why we persist, why we rebuild, why we refuse. The plasma bolt caught her mid-sternum. The sound came after, a crackling hiss that seemed to hang in the recycled air. Anna's body crumpled, her words dying on her lips. The shooter, a Verath militant with scales that shimmered violet in rage, stood at the gallery entrance, weapons still raised. But it was what happened next that would be recorded in every galactic archive, studied in every xenopsychology course, whispered about in every corner of known space. Oliver moved first, not toward the shooter but toward Anna's children, metaphorical and literal, scattered throughout the crowd. 27 human younglings, brought to witness their teacher's historic address. The youngest was barely 6 standard years. The oldest, 17, they did not scream, they did not cry, they did not run. The cubs, as the Verath contemptuously called human children, rose as one. Their faces held something the assembled aliens had never quite understood about humanity, something that had allowed a species from a death world to not merely survive but thrive among the stars. The Verath militant expected chaos. Their intelligence had promised that striking the human educator would shatter human resolve, prove them weak, dependent on their emotional attachments. The weapon hummed, prepared for a second shot, for the inevitable stampede. Instead, the children walked forward. Oliver's voice cut through the stunned silence. Hold formation. His words were soft, but every human in the room heard them. The cubs formed a semicircle around the shooter, small bodies creating a human barrier between the militant and the exit. Their eyes, those strange forward-facing predator eyes, fixed on the Verath with an intensity that made the alien's scales ripple with involuntary fear. The nearest child, a girl of perhaps 8 with Anna's same determined jaw, spoke first. Legacy. The word hung in the air like a prayer, like a promise, like a threat. The next child echoed it. Legacy. Then another. Legacy. Soon all 27 voices joined in a whisper that somehow filled the entire auditorium. Legacy. 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 Ambassador Thren of the Cooperative Council lurched to his feet, his 6 legs trembling. He had studied humans for 40 years. He had thought he understood them, their violence, their passion, their infuriating optimism. But this was something else entirely. The Verath shooter fired again, this time at the approaching cubs. The bolt went wide, whether from fear or the sudden intervention of Oliver, who had crossed the distance with frightening speed, no one could say. The weapon clattered to the floor. You don't understand, the militant hissed in broken standard. She needed to die. Her words poison the weak. Her hope infects. Legacy, the children whispered again. And now they were close enough to touch the shooter. Their small hands reached out, not to harm but to hold, to trap, to ensure the killer could not escape what was coming. Oliver knelt beside Anna's body. Her eyes were still open, still aware. The medics were already rushing forward. Human medical technology, born from millennia of warfare and catastrophe, was remarkable. She might survive, she might not. But that wasn't what mattered in this moment. Tell them, Anna whispered to Oliver, blood flecking her lips. Tell them why. Oliver stood and turned to face the assembly. The cubs maintained their positions, still surrounding the now restrained shooter, still whispering that single word like an incantation. You asked why we persist, Oliver said, his voice carrying Anna's unfinished thought. Why we rebuild after every disaster. Why we refused to abandon Earth when the scourge came. Why we didn't surrender when you offered us refuge on gentler worlds. He gestured to the children. This is why. The youngest cub, the 6-year-old, looked up at the Verath with tears finally streaming down her face. Not tears of fear, but of rage. You hurt Teacher Anna, she said simply. Now you have to answer to all of us. Ambassador Thren's translator struggled with the human concept being expressed. The word legacy carried multiple meanings in human language: inheritance, responsibility, memory, purpose, future. All of these meanings seem to exist simultaneously in this moment. We don't survive for ourselves, Oliver continued. Every human who falls, every sacrifice made, every loss endured, it becomes part of what we pass forward. Anna isn't just their teacher. She's the sum of every human who taught before her. Going back to the first person who looked at the stars and decided we belonged there, the security forces finally arrived, carefully extracting the Verith from the ring of children. But the cubs didn't move to follow. They gathered around Anna instead, forming a protective circle as the medics worked. They held hands. They sang. Something old, something from Earth that was, a song about continuity and hope that had survived the centuries. In the following hours, as Anna stabilized in surgery, the galactic networks exploded with footage of the incident. The images of human cubs surrounding their teacher's attacker, fearless and determined, became instant symbols. The word legacy was adopted into 17 languages, always with the human pronunciation, because no translation quite captured its weight. Ambassador Thren filed his report that evening. He wrote, "Humanity does not fear death because they have found something more powerful. The certainty that what they create, what they teach, what they love, will outlive them. They do not weep for the fallen, not immediately. First, they ensure that the fall meant something. This is not resilience, this is something far more dangerous. This is species-level immortality through cultural transmission." 3 days later, Anna addressed the council again, her chest bound, but her voice strong. Oliver stood behind her, and the cubs sat in the front row. This time, no one interrupted. "You asked why we persist," she said, finishing her sentence at last. "Because every human child carries forward every human who came before. Kill one of us, and you face all of us, past, present, and future. That is legacy. That is humanity." The vote on Earth's petition for full council membership was unanimous.